too smooth. That mud talking to have your ass in a wreck. Who's signing your check? Pussy better do what he says. We shutting down shows. Ain't gotta put no price in your head. Man, I'm coming for your tongue for all that shit that you said.
Gonna make the profiles boom, 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 boom. What it is, I'm gonna tell you exactly what it is, then I'm gonna tell you what it ain't. What it is another day, another dollar, another profile. We're gonna make it happen right here on Gunner's Profiles, as we do, bang, bang. And what it ain't is no bullshit, right? No frivolous talk, no antics, no none of that, man. Just Gunner being real, really I'm real self, so that's good because I'm a real one and I do it in a real way. And I'm gonna get down with it. As you can tell by that thumbnail right there, yes, indeed, it's an SNY profile, right? And that could range from a whole lot of fucking GBG chiruhu shit all the way to some vatos that were really with the business, but are not now, right? SNY profile. Let's get to it. Okay, in the 90s, there was no SNY. Okay, there really wasn't PC per se in the California prison system. What there was a PHU, a protective housing unit, okay? A place where you sat your ass down if you were in for weird charges. You done told on everybody in the world. You just couldn't function on these main lines. Now, there were dropouts. Oh, yes, there were dropouts from the 70s, 80s. So, and oh my, you know what I mean? It just keeps going, man, noodle style. But what they had were soft yards. Yards that these guys would go to, and a lot of them tried to fly under the radar. A lot of them tried not to get noticed, and a lot of them didn't get noticed. Some did. They got moved on in certain situations, but you got to understand these were different times in the 80s, and then the 90s started getting a little bit more vicious, a little bit more structured up. You got to understand in the early 80s it was pre-structured, then it started getting a little bit structured up. I'm talking about on the northern side and the southern side as well, because they started to get a lot, implement a lot of structure as well. I think the Northerners more per se, they were doing it a lot more aggressively, a lot more militant. It's always been known as a more militant group, and the way they conduct themselves with the professionalism and the way that they handle their shit on the yards is unprecedented. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You know, you have to be there and see it and know it and smell it and eat it to really know what time it is. Now, I will say this. These SNY yards started springing up in the 2000s. Okay, and when they started to spring up, I think they were implemented by the administration to segregate all this big influx of dropouts that was happening. A lot of people were going into prison and they weren't trying to adhere to the rules anymore. They didn't want to play by the politics. They weren't built for tough. They weren't built for it. They were more like a Chevy slow and low. And at the same time, man, you know what they say, man, if you ain't riding in a Ford, homie, then you can't afford a real one. So they weren't doing it. And vatos were riding Chevys right now like, fuck you, gun. I got a Chevy, puto. And I recognize that. And it's all good in the hood. But at the same time, this is my story. And let me tell it. So they started to implement these SNY yards, which are also known as sensitive need yards, or AKA PC, protective custody. Now, I don't like to call them protective custody yards because who are they really protecting? You still got gang members that are in these yards victimizing people. You still got the oppression. Things constantly are going, you know. As the world goes round and round, so does the gang members. You hear the sound, you know. That's a happening. It's real, right? The shit will happen. Doesn't matter which yard you're on. Remember, again, it's prison. It's a prison yard. Things happen in prison that have happened for decades, for a lifetime. The cavemans were in there like, I don't care if it's PC or GP. I'll have the duck with the mango salsa. They still want their mango salsa and their duck. You know what I mean? They're trying to Geico their way into shit. It's just how it is. Okay? But these SNY yards, I can't even say it because I don't like it. These SNY yards were implemented as to keep people segregated from each other. You know, they already had something called a 50-50 yard. I've been on a 50-50 yard. Yes, indubitably, righteously. And that's real. And the 50-50 yard makeup, and it's only righteous that I put it into this SNY profile, is a yard where, say, one group is non-active. Doesn't mean they're punks. Doesn't mean they're not with the business. Doesn't mean that they won't fuck your whole world off, right? Doesn't mean that they won't give you the pile driver like Paul Orndorff. What I'm saying here is, they're just not functioning under the big homies rules and regulations. They're not going with the politics. They decided that if for no other reason, they're against the grain. They don't want to do that, or they've been put in a precarious situation where they can't. They're no longer in good standings within the organization or the group they function under, and they find themselves for a variety of reasons on these yards. Now, the makeup of a 50-50 yard is one group is non-active where all other groups are. Now, of course, everyone worries about their own political makeup and their own group and what they got going on. There's going to be conflict because it's prison. You know, some vatos are going to look at them, man, them fools couldn't even hang in their own organization. They ain't with the business, right? But at the same time, you know what I mean? What you always think ain't always reality, right? And I've seen plenty of wars and plenty of things pop off where motherfuckers get fucked up for thinking one way when they should have thought another or shouldn't have thought at all. Should have just kept their boca shut and kept it pushing. But at the same time, this is how it is. At the end of the day, man, like I say, prison is prison, war is war, and people are people. And just because a motherfucker falls off doesn't mean he forgot how to squeeze that or poke that. Motherfuckers know what time it is. Anyways, so the 50-50 yards are ran like that. They're still checking paperwork. They're still doing what they have to do, you know, to be righteous within their own mind state, within their own mentality. Nobody wants to function on a yard with the weirdo. Nobody wants to kick back with the chiruju. Nobody wants to fucking do that unless you're one yourself or you like to associate with them type of characters and sabes get birds of a feather. Fuck it, flock together. You know what I mean? Go ahead and do what you do. Just don't do it over here or on this side of the yarda. Anyway, so what you have were 50-50 yards. And these were the dominant source for the administration to send what they considered people that could not walk the general population yard. Now, people get the big misconception. And when I wanted to do this profile, because I wanted to clear up some of the misconceptions. And the misconceptions are, oh man, you can't hang on a general population yard. You ain't got what it takes. Nah, some people find themselves caught up in situations, you know. Every situation is different. Sometimes you have to be a man on your own. So on the birth certificate, it says gunner, man. It doesn't say gunner, it says my name, but you know what I mean? A grown man by himself, singular. I don't got no fucking cuate. I ain't got no talk about those that look like me or want to be like me, you know, but at the same time, there is no other gunner. It's me. This is what you get. What you see is what you get, like the dramatics. Hey, what you see? You feel me? I start getting into my music mode. Anyways, so going to certain yards is not always what it's cracked up to be. You get placed on these yards for various different reasons. You know, someone might have fucking stepped on someone's shoe. It kicked off. The homeboys felt that for no other reason, homie, you're causing tension. You attracted you made yourself visible by the placas, the canines, and it could be an ugly situation. There have been known situations where people have went to bad yards with the intentions of getting off, but administration set them up, kept them in the oil, put them in confined to quarters, left them there, put on the write-up they got here on this day, they didn't get off, and so on and so forth, and then their own people trip. It just depends on what yard you go to and what's really fucking cracking off at that certain time. Okay, no one can call it like an alcoholic. Am I going to sit here and say everything is justified? Charlie, man, there's a lot of vatos that fuck up, that deserve to be on certain yards. They go over there because they got gambling debts, they got involved in drugs, which is a big no-no in prison. You get involved in drogas, you're going to get involved in conflict. You get involved in conflict, you're going to get bad standings. That's just what it is, man. Don't bring no heat to the carro. You know what I mean? So we already got enough gas. Sometimes we don't need to go siphon shit with the hose. Let's just do our thing and keep it rolling. But anyways, there's a number of various reasons why people find themselves on them 50-50 yards. And I'm not here to politic and fucking and say, oh man, if you're there, you're righteous. Man, there are some fucking dudes that are just very unrighteous. You know, they got gambling debts, they got drug debts, and then they fucking did a PC move to wiggle to get the fuck on. It happens all the time. At the end of the day, I know when I was on a 50-50 yard, we were checking paperwork, man. If you were there for a weird case or you were there for anything, you were getting on down the fucking yellow brick road. We were rolling you up indubitably. And that ain't allegedly. That's a fact. Now, Trip, these SNY yards started to be implemented. Okay, and that's because the influx, like I said, of dropouts started to become so numerous, the numbers started to just accumulate over time. Like I said, maybe it was a change in eras, maybe it was a change in people, maybe people just couldn't hang anymore. The violence and the viciousness of being on a general population yard just wasn't, people couldn't handle it, right? I've been on general population yards most of my whole life, and I will tell you right now, it's not like you think. It's not like the movies. Fools ain't getting booked every single day unless you're in high desert, right? It ain't really happening like that. But you will mind someone. You will pay attention. You will conduct yourself like a soldado, a righteous soldado for your household, and you will do what you do. And yes, if you're in California, you will be affiliated with someone. That's just what it is, whether it be the other card, the Gavas, the Spencer, the white men, right? The Africanos, whichever faction of the Africanos you are, Crip, Blood, Kumi, Muslim, Jama, and then of course Norteños and Sureños. Oh my. And then the Perros, also the Bulldogs. You can't leave them out. They're a whole different animal. We'll get to that right now. Literally a perro, right? So these SNYRs started to become very prevalent in the 2000s. And what you had was a lot of people that were finding themselves usually on a 50-50 yard going to an SNY yard. See, they weren't even getting that option. They were, whether they were debriefing or getting caught up or getting removed or rolled up, these were the ones that were going. Now, when these yards first were established, the first people that would go there were people that literally had sensitive needs. You know, they got whacked, they got sliced on the face, they got removed for one reason or another, whether it be justified or unjustified. That's not neither here nor there. That's not what we're talking about. We're just saying that guys went to the SNY. So over time, what starts to happen? You get a lot of weirdos on these SNY yards. You get a lot of J-Cats, a lot of 5150s, a lot of people taking hot meds, medication. So you got a lot of different riffraff floating around on this yard. And now they like to say, if you function on these yards, homes around these people, then you are what you are. But Charlie, man, a lot of people like to do their own thing. Just because they're placed in a certain yard doesn't mean that they're a punk or that they're not about their business or that they're a weirdo. They just are forced to do their time where they're forced to do their time. Now they can get off. Yes, you could always get off and go do your time in the oil, but no one, no righteous real man is going to put himself in a bad situation. Even the big homies and the active homies, hey, fought the hard fight, man, to get from back behind, back on this other side of this dungeon. Motherfuckers ain't trying to be in the oils forever. Motherfuckers ain't trying to sit in the shoes for indeterminates. That's just not the way it is. Am I trying to justify people going SNY? Charlie, they go for various reasons, man. If you go on a bad call or you go for whatever you go for, so hey, man, I feel for you. I feel for you. Shaka Khan. But if you go because you righteously deserve to be there, then go kick it with who you need to kick it with, puto. Now, what happened with these SNY yards and why I wanted to profile them extensively is because it started to get icky, sticky rice, padak. It started to get weird, right? A lot of you don't know what I just said. It went over your head. Asians do, right? Trip out on this. What happened was you started to have people that started to formulate plots and plans. You know, they were still criminals. When you're around the criminal element, just whether they be general population or they be a degenerate or a dropout or fucking someone who's changed their life or a Christian or whatever the case may be, whatever you believe in, you're still a criminal. At the end of the day, when you get a whole bunch of criminals in one yard, man, they start to plot and plan and think. And you can't take the gang member out of a person. So I was scared you could take that gang member off that yada, but you can't take that yada out of that gang member, meaning he's still got it in him. A lot of these youngsters that get there that ain't never been nowhere, they get off the banana boat like Tony Montana and they hit these SNY yards, believe that they're still somebody. Or they want to be somebody. They want to get all tattooed down, bald head, horns on their fucking head, kisses on their face, huelga birds on their cheek, and still claim to be somebody. So what they did was they started to implement these dropout gangs. Now, there was already gangs of dropouts from way back in the days. You had the 2-5ers that were already established, and they were an organization established down south that felt that they were oppressed by the letter, and then they decided to fight back and go on the offensive. And of course, man, they get a stigma, and that's them. That's what they did. But they were already around, okay? But they decided to start to take over SNY yards and recruit. Then you had Northern Riders who sprung from the ashes. And of course, you had vatos like fucking Badass Snoop who implemented that as a leader. And they started to do their thing and they started to accumulate numbers as well because they were indoctrinating a lot of youngsters, educating them into their plights, how they felt they were oppressed, and it was going down. Okay, then you had several other gangs. You had white gangs. You even had a Jotito gang. You know what I mean? A Chiruju gang called GBG that started to run wild. You know what I mean? Mamones everywhere for everyone on the yada. It's an ugly situation, so I hear. But at the same time, it is what it is. People are always going to have that instilled in them. They're always going to be gang related. They're always going to want to be part of something. They're always going to want that canalismo and that friendship. And they feel, man, this is still prison. It's still a dangerous situation. If you could have a few homeboys back your play, Sabaski, it's a good thing. Do I think it's a great thing to join a dropout gang? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Hey, and I certify that, homie, in some real shit. And that's a fact. I stamp it. I'm saying at no time do I condone that. But it happens. You know, you got to face the facts and reality, and not allegedly. When I say motherfuckers do it for whatever various reason they're going to do it for, and that's it. So the SNY yards are rampant with a lot of these gangs. Of course, you have other gangs like Nueva Flor, another gang like the 2-5ers that have been well established for a long time and literally don't conduct themselves on these SNY yards. You might see one or two of them, I guess, on those SNY yards, but for the most part, they consider themselves an active dropout gang. To what degree of activities and dropouts, I can't call it like an alcoholic. The lines are blurred, but they're doing their thing. Anyways, so what you have on these SNY yards is a melting pot. You have a melting pot of chirujos, dope fiends, 5150s, degenerates, people that can't hang or gangbang. You have motherfuckers that still think they're with the business. You have motherfuckers that are with the business. You have people that are just doing it solo bolo like a sideways leaning cholo, just doing their own thing. But when you got a lot of riffraff and a lot of different mentas and a lot of different mind states in one place, it's a powder keg and it's a recipe for explosion, right? For war. And there's been a lot of wars fought on those SNY yards. See, they put a bad taste in my mouth. And the wind is blowing because I automatically think SNY, I automatically think PC, motherfuckers that rolled it up, that are suckers, you know what I mean? I myself am not in good standings with my gang. Let's just get that out there for those of you that don't know. I am not in good standings. Why am I not in good standings? Not because I got a heart attack, yay. Not because I can't be here, administration. Not because I did any of that, because I violated a rule and regulation by doing red on red, meaning I fought with another norteño on a yarda, to which I shouldn't have. I knew better, but at the same time, that's the way the world crumbles. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the way it goes sometimes, right? Dispensa en la tira, huh? Hey, just what it is, right? It's my story. That's the way I tell it. Now, I will say this. There's a lot of people that deserve to be on those SNY yards. They deserve to be where they're sat at. For the reasoning behind it is they're a fucking idiot. They're a fuck up. They didn't want to change their lives. They didn't have an epiphany, and all of a sudden, man, they're like, you know what? I want to do good. I want to strive for my people instead of just striving for my selfish intentions or for a gang, or I'm not going to take the dictate. Because I hear a lot of people, I wasn't going to be told what to do by another man. So hold up. Hey, you know the vato right here, Simon. So the vato, so the homeboy's been telling him what to do for the last 19 years, que no, Simon? And then on the 20th year, he decided he didn't want to be told what to do anymore, right? Okay. Yeah, he'll hold. Boop. You know, all of a sudden things changes, I guess, either that or maybe the fucking Chiru who you got caught in the cell with. Whatever the case may be, something along the lines changed, and these SNY yards are a breeding ground for a lot of hatred. They're a breeding ground for a lot of riffraff, and they're a breeding ground for a lot of change. Okay, there's a lot of people that really go over there and they decide that they want to change their lives. Hey, diamonds in the rough, to each their own, man. They're going to do what they does, and I ain't mad at them, cuz. But at the same time, I will say this, that SNY shit gets a bad stigma. It is what it is. I can't call it like an alcoholic, but I will say, over the years, I have noticed that a lot of people that join those dropout gangs and come from them SNY yards are always scared to say they were there. Real ones would tell you, yeah, I was there, whatever. It is what it was, man. They put me, administration said, fuck it. I said, fuck it, 2 tears in a bucket. Take it to the stage, right? We're doing what we do. But a lot of others are in denial. Charlie Holmes, no, not me. Not for, I beat the booch down with the 2x4. It's like, come on, bro. If you were there, you were there. If you sat down, you sat down. It is what it is, man. It doesn't mean you're still a degenerate. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then there's a lot of people, hey, you were there. Well, how do you know? Because I've seen you. You were there too. Well, no, not me. I was looking through the fence. I was visiting my brother. So your brother's there. Again, you know what I mean? I'm going to go ahead and plead the fifth on that one. Well, I ain't interrogating you. Yeah, but it feels like it. Anyways, everyone always has some reasoning behind whatever they do. What is happening now with the SNY yards that sticks out to me the most is they're starting to integrate general population with SNY. See, they were sending SNY guys to general population. They were getting whack-a-la-lack-a-gis, right? New word of the day, whack-a-la-lack-a-gis. They were getting whacked, right? Allegedly. And now they're doing the reversal role, and they're sending active general population people into the SNY yards. And we're going to see how all that plays out. At the end of the day, do I think the SNY movement, I call it a movement because the Placas did this in the 2000s, was a good thing? No. It wasn't a good thing, man. All it did was create a safe haven for people that wanted to get away from their problems, If you go to prison, man, and you know what you signed up for and you have problems, so you can handle your business, Again, at the end of the day, do I hate on anyone there? Chale. There is no hate. There is no envy. It is what it is. You're going to go where you go. Prison is still prison, and motherfuckers on the SNY will cut your shit off. That's a known fact. In fact, some of them yards I hear are fucking more vicious than you could ever imagine. Anyways, with that being said, that was my profile on the SNY yards and everything that it goes into it. From what I know, from what I've heard, from what I've compiled, and it is what it is. I hope that you move fast with a purpose. I hope that you get everything that you want coming to you. Remember, at the end of the day, it's all about going out there, striving, struggling, and hustling for your familia. No one else is going to do it for you, whether you consider yourself a general population type motherfucker or an SNY individual, man. I don't care. It's neither here nor there. Hey, closed mouths don't get fed. You got to go out there, open your mouth to make it happen, man. And don't tell on people, because that ain't the type of opening mouths I'm talking about. Anyways, Bang, bang. If you like this, hit that like and subscribe. I appreciate you right here on the profiles. I'm dropping a banger tonight, man. We got a premiere. Make sure you guys tune in at 5:30. Oh, yes, it's cracking. Oh, yes, there will be sangre. And then, of course, if you don't like this spill, you don't like me, you don't like the way my hat looks, you don't like the color I'm wearing, you don't like how yellow my teeth are, hit that thumbs down, because heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for the gente with the mentality of the people, for the people, by the people, brown skin, and don't stop. The gun. Bang, bang. Profiling. Woo!